What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and more significant than Michael Vick's concussion, it's week number 11 of my weekly pick show for the 2012-2013 NFL season. Week 10 has come and gone. Fairly significant week in the NFL for a couple of reasons, and I thought we would take a second to talk about a couple of them. Quarterback down. We had a number of significant quarterback injuries in the NFL in Week 10, a lot of them circling around concussions, which is, of course, going to re-raise the monthly debate as to whether or not the NFL is doing enough to combat and diagnose concussions and everything like that. But we'll start with a non-concussion related injury, which was Ben Roethlisberger. Roethlisberger was injured in the Monday Nighter against KC, goes down with a shoulder injury. Now, the most recent report that I read indicated at least a chance, if not a good chance, that Roethlisberger may miss multiple weeks. And if he does, that is really, really, really going to hurt Pittsburgh's chances trying to catch Baltimore. I was going to say Baltimore's kind of reeling, but after putting up 55 points, I'm not sure. But now, of course, let's go to Concussion City, and this week, we're all the mayor. Alex Smith for the San Francisco 49ers, concussion. Jay Cutler for the Chicago Bears, concussion. Although I haven't heard any reports as to whether those two are going to play this week coming. They may not, depending on the severity of the concussion. One quarterback that has already been indicated that with his concussion he will not play this coming week is Michael Vick. Michael Vick with what was described by the Eagles brass as a quote-unquote significant concussion. So, I mean, he could be gone for a couple of weeks. What did I say? What did I say when I was talking about the Dallas and Philadelphia game? I said that offensive line, that was going to be a problem, and lo and behold, their quarterback is gone with a concussion. Tie game? Yes, we had a tie game this week. San Francisco and St. Louis tie at 24 on multiple missed field goals in overtime. Neither team looked like they really, 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 really wanted to win this game. That overtime period was the sloppiest quarter of football maybe I've seen all year. They just both, and it wasn't from one team or the other, it was from both teams. And you have a kicker like David Akers. Akers is so consistent and he's so good at what he does to miss that field goal in overtime no matter what the distance was, after they're talking about, both these guys were hitting 60-yarders pregame. It was kind of cool. We haven't seen it since 2008. It was kind of cool, but at the same time it's like, should there really be ties in football? I don't know. I think maybe they should change the overtime rules. But of course that's not for me to say. But yeah, we had our first tie game since 2008. It was kind of cool to see. And like I've done the last couple of weeks, I want to pose a question to my lovely loyal viewers. I want to know, what team, in your opinion, has the best defense right now in football? There's a number of really, really, really good options. You look at Chicago. Chicago leads the league with only 125 points surrendered by their defense. 26 sacks on the year. Lead the league with 19 interceptions. They've got 11 recovered fumbles and 8 defensive touchdowns on the year. Leads the league by, I think they're double anybody else. The next teams behind them only have 4. San Fran has only given up 127 points by their defense this year. They got 17 sacks, 6 interceptions, 7 fumble recoveries. San Fran is having a great season defensively. What about the Denver Broncos? 183 points allowed, yes. Lead the league with 31 sacks, mostly, of course, due to Elvis Dumervil and Von Miller, who are both studs, as we've talked about. The only team in football to have multiple safeties on the year. They've got 2. They got 10 interceptions. They got 4 defensive touchdowns. My friends over at Uncut Sports made a mention of this on a video last week. I mean, Peyton Manning walked into a team that was a playoff team last year with Tim fucking Tebow as their quarterback. So he walked into and inherited a very good team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then, of course, you've got Houston. Houston was undefeated for the first few weeks into the season. Only 141 points allowed. They got 25 sacks, 11 interceptions, recovered 7 fumbles, 4 defensive touchdowns. maybe it's not one of the teams that I mentioned. Maybe you're on Pittsburgh or on a Baltimore or even sort of a wild card pick like a Miami who has played very, very well defensively this year. I want to hear from you. I want to hear who you think has the best defense in professional football. Now, let's check out my platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for week 10 in the NFL. Start at the top with the platinum pick. I had the New England Patriots to defeat the Buffalo Bills. There were even still some pundits out there this week that were like, Buffalo's going to shock the world. Close. It was closer than it probably should have been. New England 37, Buffalo 31. New England wins. Platinum pick to me. We are going to go to the gold pick, which was the Pittsburgh Steelers to defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. Another game that was probably closer than it should have been. Pittsburgh ends up winning the game 16-13. Again, Roethlisberger gets hurt, but Pittsburgh still manages to pull off the victory. It remains to be seen how the Roethlisberger injury, how long it will go, and what effect it's going to have on the Steelers. My silver pick, the Baltimore Ravens to defeat the Oakland Raiders. They went out, and boy, did they ever. Baltimore puts up 55 points on the Raiders. They roll to a 55-20 victory. I'm glad I started Torrey Smith in a couple of my fantasy leagues. And the bronze pick, the one that I talked about, the one that actually got me on a Dallas-based radio station, and we'll talk about that at the end of the video, the bronze pick, the Dallas Cowboys to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles. They went out and they did that relatively convincingly, 38-23, a game that they, of course, knocked Michael Vick out of that game. Again, when I was talking about that game, I said, Philly's offensive line. The game's going to come down to the offensive line. Yeah, Romo was sacked 3 times, and technically Vick was not sacked in the game, but those 2 big hits that he took, especially the last one, the last hit, well, quote-unquote hit that he took that ended up ultimately taking him out of the game, you could have driven a truck through Philadelphia's offensive line. That was a gigantic, gigantic hole. He could have walked through. Like, there was no one anywhere near stopping that guy. Andy Reid, this is probably your swan song, buddy. Now let's take a look at how the public and private pick'em leagues are doing and how the rest of my picks did in Week 10. Week 10 had a very good week. I went 9, 4, and 1, of course, with the tie. I have the correct and incorrect here for you. On the season, 87 and 58. Sitting in the 73rd percentile on Yahoo. Definitely going in the right direction. Of course, sorry, 87, 58, and 1. Moving to the private pick'em, I did do what I set out to do, and I moved up to 2nd place out of 10 in the private pick'em. Currently sit with 731 of 1,144 possible confidence points, a clip of 64%. And in week 10, I raked in 77 of 105 possible confidence points, a clip of 73%. Shout out to our week 10 winner for the 2nd week in a row. Now I'm really starting to hit my stride. Bridgewater's Finest wins week 10. 9, 4, and 1, as I mentioned. 77 of 105, as I mentioned. 73%. Tom Mullins still leads our league, of course. Tom is 90, 55, and 1, having a great season. 764 of 1,144 possible confidence points, a clip of 67%. But if you do the math there, I'm only 33 points, I was going to say percent, 33 points behind Tom Mullins. Remember, our league is going to go all through the playoffs. I still got plenty of time, and Mullins, now there is no one in my mirror except you, buddy. Now let's take a look at my platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks for week 11 in the NFL. We're going to start at the bottom with the bronze pick, the Denver Broncos playing at home against the San Diego Chargers. On paper, this game looked like it would be relatively close. Because, you know, San Diego is a much better team than their results so far this season have led us to believe. And Denver, again, what else can you say about Denver? Like I mentioned with their defense, leading the league in sacks, the only team in the league with multiple safeties on the year. They're getting a ton of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Now, if they can do that in this game, as I've mentioned, I've complained rightfully so about Phillip Rivers and these little backpedal fade-away passes off the back foot. And with all the pressure Denver's going to be bringing in this game, there's going to be an awful lot, I figure, of those sort of off the back foot passes. And there's going to be a number of lame duck passes up here for Denver to pick off. Again, they got 10 interceptions on the year in 9 games, I believe. They should be able to snag at least 1, if not 2 here on Phillip Rivers. I don't see San Diego winning this game, especially considering it's in Denver's house. I will take Denver at home to beat San Diego for my bronze pick. My silver pick, and a team I have not talked about yet this year in a positive light, the Kansas City Chiefs playing at home against the Cincinnati Bengals. You can see where I'm going with this. Cincinnati had a great game last week, absolutely taking care of the defending Super Bowl champion New York Giants. Cincinnati put together a very good game, and I'll tell you something, and they said this a couple of times during the game, but I'll just sort of repeat it and reiterate it. If Cincinnati can get a run game, Cincinnati is a dangerous team. I mean, Kansas City can't beat anybody. They got Jamal Charles and nobody else. So I don't see them beating Cincinnati here, even though the game is in KC. We're going to take Cincinnati on the road to beat KC for my silver pick. My gold pick, how about them Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys playing at home against the Cleveland Browns. Dallas impressed me in their game against Philadelphia. They sort of limited the mental mistakes. Romo played a very good, very solid game, the kind of game that Romo is capable of playing. And again, you look on the other side of the field, and it's Cleveland. You know, Cleveland's another one of these teams where they've got Trent Richardson and nobody else. And the oldest rookie since Methuselah, Brandon Whedon. But you know, I got the boys. I got to take the boys. I think if they're going to make a run, it's got to start now. With the Giants kind of faltering, maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room there. I'm going to take the boys to beat Cleveland at home for my gold pick. And my platinum pick, I feel like I'm picking on the poor Oakland Raiders, but oh well. Oakland Raiders playing at home against the New Orleans Saints. The reason I have this as my platinum pick, my very top one, is it's not just a matter of picking on Oakland, because Oakland's playing at home. And when they're playing at home, Oakland as a team, they're like Seattle. They become a different team. Like, Oakland is a bunch of bad bitches when they're playing at home. But you got New Orleans going in there. New Orleans just had an extremely impressive win to beat the Atlanta Falcons. They held Atlanta down on a couple of fourth down opportunities when they had them there. Everything in this game points to New Orleans. Even though, again, Oakland is playing at home, and Oakland are bad mamma jammas when they play at home. I'm just going to come up with every tired cliche for they're good at playing at home. Got to take the Saints to win on the road in Oakland for my platinum pick. Now let's take a look at the rest of my Week 11 picks in the National Football League. That's the show for you, folks. A couple of quick things here before I go. On my platinum, gold, silver, and bronze picks from last week, again, I was 4-0 again, 32-8 on the season. I have not gotten one of those lock picks wrong since week 6, so I'm feeling extremely confident in these picks. I don't think I'm just picking easy games, because again, last week, I took Dallas and Philadelphia, which is a game I probably should have stayed 100 miles away from. A couple of weeks prior, I picked the Giants and the Redskins, which I should have stayed 100 miles away from. If you guys think I'm just picking easy games, let me know, and I'll try to ratchet the difficulty up maybe even a little bit more, but I'm picking the games that I feel the most confident with. Second of all, want to throw a shout out to Shan, RJ, and Jasmine at 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Texas. As I mentioned a little earlier in the video, they featured a clip from my show last week on their Internet Basement Reporters segment. I thought it was funny as hell. They took a couple of shots. They were pretty good shots. I do definitely look like that Cam guy from Modern Family. I definitely have that look going. You know, confidence points are serious business, guys. But I just want to throw a shout out to those guys because it was very funny. I got like 20 new Twitter followers from Texas after you guys pimped my Twitter and threw out like all epic comments and stuff like that. So I really appreciate it. Who knows, maybe I'll even make the show again this week. Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Enjoy week 11.